Hey everyone, it's Emily, and today I have a very exciting video of things that I picked up while I was in Japan, as well as some other things that have arrived since my last pickups video. Now, a few of these items may look a little familiar because I have been teasing some of my pickups over on the JRPG Pursuit podcast, which is a brand new podcast that I'm a co-host of along with two of my friends. It's a weekly podcast where we share thoughtful discussions around gaming and collecting. I find that episode's a lot of fun to film, and it's probably the point in the week where I laugh the most because we get into some rather ridiculous banter. So definitely check it out if you haven't already. I'll have the link to the channel down in the description so you can watch it on YouTube, or it's also available on any podcast platform if you just want to listen to it through the audio version. So now to get into my pickups. So when it comes to game hunting, I will admit that I was expecting to have a little bit of easier time when it comes to finding certain items, particularly a lot of JRPGs that I was kind of hoping to come across. And unfortunately, when it came to games, in the cities that I was primarily game hunting in, which was Hiroshima, Osaka, Kyoto, and Tokyo, a lot of the inventory was heavily either picked over or very kind of, I would say, overpriced for what the items were. So based on my experience, if you're planning a trip to Japan anytime soon, I would probably go in with very low expectations if you are wanting to do a lot of game hunting. Unless you go out into the countryside and you have maybe access to a car or something, it's very difficult to find those kind of secret spots that have just the best game deals. So while I did manage to pick up a few games during my 3-week stay in Japan, I mostly focused on getting merchandise, and I'll kind of share what those things are and also how I'm going to fit them on my shelves, because I did pick up quite a number of things while I was in Japan, though sadly not as many games as I would have liked. So I'm going to start off with the games, and unfortunately I only really picked up 4 Switch games during my entire trip, which is really sad because I was really hoping to pick up more really cool unbox JRPGs, but it was really hard for me to justify paying some of those premium prices I was seeing for the in-box copies of games from my favorite franchises or just some classics that would have been cool to have on my shelves. But it's just, a lot of them, of course, don't contain English in them, and if they're only going to be really shelf pieces, it was really hard for me, again, to justify paying premium prices for what they were, despite the amazing exchange rate while I was in Japan. So the first one is The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and this is the edition that comes with the expansion pass, so this one contains all the DLC on the cart, and it's totally possible that maybe with the Switch predecessor, we're going to have a remastered version of Breath of the Wild, and maybe with some graphical upgrades and things like that, but I found this for a wonderful price, I think at Mandarake, surprisingly, in Tokyo, and just decided to pick it up for my collection, since this is one of my favorite games on the Switch. And these next 2 games were also from the same Mandarake, so you probably guessed that at that point I was a little desperate trying to find games to bring back with me, because my bags were full of art books and soundtracks and other great merchandise, but again, the games were just slim pickings, unfortunately, in the places that I visited. But this game is brand new to my collection, and I'm really happy to finally own a copy of it. And it's also in a great edition that it's really difficult to find, I think, nowadays, and that is of Golf Story. And this happens to be the edition that B-Side Games released, and so this was a limited print publisher, I want to say, in Japan. And they only had a run of a few different games before they closed down, but they did have, I think, Golf Story, as their first release ever. So this is number 1 here on the spine. And this just comes with a beautiful slipcover. And the game happened to be sealed, so it was brand new when I picked it up for a great price. And it also includes a sticker as well as some trading cards in this edition. So I was very pleased to find that because I've heard nothing but great things about this golf-inspired RPG. And I also picked up another B-Side game edition, and that is of one of my favorite RPGs, Cat Quest. And it comes in this nice little slipcase as well as the Japanese edition of the game. And I do know that they are releasing a special package of all 3 Cat Quest games all on a single cartridge here in North America. And I do probably plan on getting that, but I'm really happy to have this nevertheless, especially with the B-side game slipcover that comes with a sticker pack as well as some cards, just to kind of commemorate my trip. And it's nice to kind of have multiple editions of this little cute franchise that I really adore. Now, the last Switch game that I picked up while I was in Japan was of a visual novel, and I actually had a lengthy list of visual novels I was hoping to find while I was in Japan, because there are a number of visual novels that only released in Japan, but they do contain English on the cart. Unfortunately, I only found one from that list. That is The Crimson Flower That Divides the Lunar Coupling. And so this is an otome visual novel, and I've heard really good things about this one, and that has a lot of interesting characters and some interesting plot developments and the various routes. So I am collecting so many otome visual novels that I need to start playing through because they are very much accumulating right now. So those were all of my Japanese games pickups, but I do have a few more games to share a little bit later in the video. I just wanted to first kind of go over a couple other highlights of things I picked up while I was on my trip. And while the game hunting wasn't so successful for me during my trip, I was very successful when it came to art books, which I was really excited about because these tend to be very heavy, and so they're very expensive to ship overseas. So I was really glad I was able to pick up so many of these that I did. The first one is a brand new one that I actually got at one of the new bookstores because it was thankfully in stock. And this was, I think, at one of the Kyoto bookstores, and that is the Xenoblade Chronicles 3 art collection. And I just absolutely adore these art collection books. It's so cool to see all the different character drawings and kind of the process that they kind of went through when it came to designing all these. There's so many great landscapes and all the different inventory and items and just so many great features that it's really fun to flip through these art books from time to time. And speaking of other new art books that I managed to pick up while I was in Japan, this one I actually had to order from Amazon Japan and have shipped to my hotel room because it was really difficult to find this just on store shelves. And that is of the Vanillaware Vanilla Mania art book that recently came out last summer. And this just has a lot of wonderful illustrations. So there's artwork of all their different games contained in here. So from Odin Sphere, 13 Sentinels, Dragon's Crown, Miramasa. So many great games, and Vanillaware just has wonderful art. So I'm really happy to have this in my collection. And all the rest of these art books are ones that I picked up from secondhand stores, so like Surugaya, Mandarake, Book Off, those type of stores. So the first one is of Xenoblade Chronicles, and so this is the art book that released for the original Xenoblade Chronicles that was on the Wii. And there's, again, a lot of great concept art, and I actually didn't play the Wii version of this game. I only played the definitive version, so it's kind of interesting to see some of the differences and similarities in this. And as many of you know, I'm a huge Trails fan, so I was really seeking out as much Trails merch as possible while I was in Japan, and unfortunately, I really struck out. It was very difficult to find Trails anything from especially any of the used stores, and I didn't really know many locations that would have new things, and unfortunately the ones that did had very limited items that I was interested in. I did manage to find this 15th anniversary art book, and so this is kind of basically a character guide. So it just has various illustrations and information of all the characters of when this book released for the series 15th anniversary. So this year they're celebrating their 20th anniversary. It's just up to the Cold Steel games. And one of the franchises I had great luck with when it came to art books was of the Atelier series. And I managed to get Atelier Aisha's art book. And so this is a little bit thinner than the ones I was sharing before, but it has beautiful illustrations, and this is a little bit more difficult to come by. So I was really happy. I think I found this in the Hiroshima location. I also have another Atelier Dusk art book of Asuka and Lagi. And this, again, so many great illustrations and concept art included in this nice little volume. Then last but not least, I also picked up this one of Atelier Lua. And again, I adore the Atelier series, so I'm just so happy to have more of their merchandise, and especially these art books. And I also had some good luck with soundtracks, though I didn't pick up too many, and that was most because I was searching out for the deals. And while there was a great selection at a lot of the used bookstores, it was very difficult to kind of narrow down and find a lot of the video game soundtracks because they're kind of mixed in with so many other genres of music. And it's very difficult for me to read a lot of the titles on the spine because they are in Japanese. And I was able to find a couple things that I was excited about. The first one, to continue with my Atelier theme, I found the first Atelier Ryza soundtrack, and it comes in this nice little slipcase, and you have a 2-disc soundtrack here. And the other soundtrack that I found for a great deal was for Kuro no Kaseki, or Trails Through Daybreak, and it came in this holographic slipcase, which is fun. And this is also multi-disc. I believe there are, 3 different discs in this. You get so much music, and I think I paid less than 1,000 yen for that. So it was really great all around. Now for my other pickups that were not from Japan, I'll try to go through these quickly for the sake of time. But I did finally get my order from Play Asia, where I had pre-ordered one game, and I finally got a copy of another highly anticipated remaster that I've been really looking forward to. So the remaster has a combat system that I'm a little bit iffy about because I'm not one who enjoys card-based fighting systems usually. But I want to give this a chance because it is developed by Monolith Soft, who's one of my favorite developers, and that is Fighting Kaitos 1 and 2 HD Remastered for the Switch. I got the Asian English edition because it didn't come out here in North America. But I just love the art direction with this, and I hear really good things about the story and the characters. I look forward to giving this a try and hope I really enjoy it, just like the rest of Monolith Soft's work. But the game that I pre-ordered that finally arrived is a otome visual novel, Hakioki, and this is one of the most famous otome VNs of this decade, I guess. But the thing with this game is that this has been released in multiple formats on different systems. But the nice thing about the Switch version is that everything that they've released over the years is all available on a single cartridge, whereas I was attempting to actually get these on the PS Vita a while back before this was announced, and that was split into 2 different game carts. And so this one is totally complete, and so I'm really looking forward to playing this very well-known and well-regarded visual novel. And then the rest of these games are all from Video Games Plus, who have become really my go-to retailer when it comes to pre-ordering and just buying games in general, because they often have fantastic sales and great prices. So I placed 2 orders through them, and both of them happen to contain limited run edition games. And I've talked on this channel extensively how I guess my feelings for limited run games have definitely kind of soured over the years. And while I'm appreciative that a lot of these games are getting physical releases that never would have had them, I'm really annoyed that so many games are now just being tied to this model where you have to pre-order within a month kind of time frame in order to ensure you get a copy of the game. And it's kind of another way of making kind of FOMO buying and not being as intentional when it comes to game curating, which is something I'm trying to avoid. But nevertheless, I ordered these through Video Games Plus once they released, and I'm happy that I was able to get them because they are games that I was really excited for. The first being Beacon Pines, and this is a narrative storytelling game, and I honestly don't know too much about this other than I saw something from Food for Dogs talking about it, and it just sounded really interesting. I really liked the art aesthetic. It's like a cute, creepy kind of aesthetic, and I think this does have quite a dark story behind it, so I'm very intrigued by this and looking forward to it. And then the other limited run games pickup I got through Video Games Plus is a JRPG classic, and it's something that I'm really happy we're seeing a lot of remasters for so many of these games that I missed out on. And I don't have to pay a premium for those retro games at this point that could easily break down or, have issues down the line. So I ended up getting the Grandia HD remastered, containing the first 2 Grandia games. And I've just heard nothing but praise for these, and I'm excited to dive into them. Now, the other 2 games I picked up are also PlayStation games, and they're ones that really great prices that I've been intrigued about. The first being another JRPG, and that is Knights, and this is a indie JRPG that when it came out, a lot of people were making comparisons to Persona because of the social links, and it just has a really interesting art style, and I do hear there's some interesting kind of mechanics to it. Unfortunately, it goes, I think, more in the minigame route, which I'm usually not a fan of, but I'm willing to give it a try, and it was a fantastic price. And I wanted to grab this at that price before we start seeing either the PS5 versions becoming a little bit more difficult to find now that the Switch version is out there. And last but not least is a little bit different from what I usually share as a pickup on the channel, and that is the PS4 version of Red Dead Redemption 2. So I do like my action adventure games, and I also like westerns, so I felt like this was time to finally pick this game up, and I got it on sale for a great price, and it's supposed to be one of Rockstar's like best games, so I'm looking forward to whenever I find time to try this one out. So editing Emily here, I actually have 2 new collector's editions that have arrived since filming my video that I wanted to share some very short unboxings of. The first one is for Metaphor Refantagio, and I'm actually currently playing this game and having a blast with it. I've mentioned this on the channel before, but I've never actually played a Persona game before, despite owning a couple of them. And I'm really enjoying my time with Metaphor, and it's inspiring me to pick up those Persona games sooner rather than later. But I really love the package for this collector's edition. It comes with a great steelbook, art book, a 2-disc soundtrack, as well as these metal pins of teeth, which are some of the creatures you encounter in the game. And overall, it's just a wonderful package. And the other game that arrived that I wanted to share is the Ys 10 Nordics Collector's Edition. And this is the copy that was sent to me from NAS America to share an unboxing with you all. It's a really nice little package, and it actually comes with this really neat satchel. And so it's like a sling bag, and it's really nice size, actually. So I think it's perfect as a little day pack, and it's actually large enough to fit a Switch OLED inside. So a very, I think, convenient size. And I really like my sling bags whenever I'm walking out and about. So I'll definitely be using this one. But this collector's edition has this gorgeous box that NAS America does just so well. And it's nice and compact. And inside includes the standard edition of the game. I went with the PS5 version. It also includes this nice art book that is in this hardback cover. With some nice character illustrations. It also includes this mini soundtrack that contains 8 songs from the game. It also includes this postcard set that features many of the characters and just various illustrations based on the game. And then last but not least is this metal pin that says Ys 10 Nordics on it. So I want to thank NAS America again for sending this over to me, and it's going to be perfect on my Ys shelf that I'll be sharing in a moment. So I'm excited to share some of my new arrangements I've made on my shelves behind me of incorporating a lot of these new items onto them, and also share some of the other kind of merchandise that I've yet to kind of highlight that are also new additions. So here is an overview of my current shelving arrangement, and you may have noticed a few new things if you've seen some of my previous shelf tours, and I'll definitely point out all of the new changes I've made and things I've picked up while I was either in Japan or that I received after the fact. And I also want to get into a little bit about my philosophy when it comes to rearranging my shelves. I really enjoy shelf curation and particularly the storytelling when it comes to shelving displays. So I'll definitely get into that a little later on, but first I want to share some of the changes I've made, including shifting my Zelda collection up a tier. And so I don't anticipate this collection getting too much bigger, at least anytime soon. That Link's Awakening box I got at the Nintendo store in Kyoto, which contained a t-shirt that I will probably wear in my videos. And I also picked up a lot of new plushies. Most were not gaming related, except for that Kirby and Dragon Quest slime there. The Xenoblade shelf didn't change at all really, except for the addition of this Monado, which is from the museum collection. And I got that the Ami Ami in Tokyo. And to the right is the start of my Trails shelf. I've greatly expanded upon this collection, and I have a bunch of the new 20th anniversary merch for Trails, some fan art, the Baron Bear there. And I also have all of my pin box and cold steel related items on the right side of the shelf now. The newest addition is that crystal of crow there. It's a little hard to see without batteries in it, but I found that for a steal. You usually find that for a lot of money, especially on Mercari Japan and places like that. But to the left of that is for my crossbell and also my Trails in the Sky items, which I'm anticipating this will be changing sometime next year when the remake comes out. Then right below this shelf is where the rest of my Trails items are going. So you see some Daybreak there, as well as Legends of Nayuta, and I deliberately left a lot of space here because I know that's going to fill up soon, along with my model kits and some of my other Falcom things with Tokyo Xanadu and my Ease collection. And below there is all of my Fire Emblem stuff, which again hasn't really had any changes. I unfortunately couldn't find much Fire Emblem at all in Japan except for Fire Emblem Heroes items, which is not really a game I play. And this is where I have all of my art books, and above that are my big box visual novels. And as we go up, you'll see the rest of my game arrangements where all of my kind of PlayStation, Switch games have made a few different arrangements, including down here is where I've been keeping all of my boxed Switch games that are usually from the limited print publishers. And I also have kept or shortened my Steelbook collection down here. And so these are kind of just placeholders when my other collections expand. And I also put my PSP2 games down there. And I also just wanted to note that plenty of room for new Switch games and probably the new Nintendo console whenever that comes out. And here's all my DS and 3DS items. And you'll notice that there's a new Digimon lookup figure there next to Gautamon. So I picked that up in Ami in Tokyo. And then above that is my 3DS collection, which has not changed, as well as some of my Trails Steelbooks. And I made a lot of changes, actually, on the upper part of my shelves. And you'll see that I've rearranged a lot of these other collector's editions I have, including putting the Ori box set in the center there. And then we'll zoom in here to my One Piece collection, which I know is not totally gaming related, even though they do have some games. I think what's great about these displays is that you could just put whatever you're into kind of integrated in your shelves. It doesn't all have to be gaming related. It's part of the storytelling philosophy. And then here is my Final Fantasy VII shelf, which I did find a ton of stuff in Japan for that, including this glassware, as well as this Chocobo metal keychain. And outside of Agumon, the only other figure I picked up was this Cloud figure. And a little bit of a surprise for me. It was a little bit impulsive because I got him for a great price at Ami in Tokyo. He was on sale and they have a tax refund opportunity for travelers, and I want to get more of those Bring Art figures. I'm really participating in Zach in particular. He's coming out next year. And you'll see that my Atelier shelf didn't change at all. Neither did my one below that with Hades and Transistor. And then it's just more of the shelf where I changed so many of my collector's editions, moving Rune Factory up there and having those two acrylic standees propping up my Ori collector's edition. And I really like how that turned out on my shelves. Now, as we go down here, just a little close-up of my PS5 games. You'll see my new additions like East Nordics, Metaphor Refantatio, and Utter Nights. And so there's still plenty of room for this to expand. And I also have my Steelbooks over here, which, again, are kind of temporary placeholders just to liven up my shelves. And then we'll swing over here to the PS4 collection, which is really shaping up. I have, I think, almost all the titles I really want to get on the PS4. There's still a few more I have in mind in getting, but I do think I have most of the ones that I really wanted to get on the system, as well as some duplicate games that I could possibly put away in their collector's edition boxes. And then swinging over here, I have another kind of one-piece display of one of those other little ships that I put together myself on this little wooden thing I got from Yakushima Island while I was in Japan. And again, this is just another kind of display piece that makes me happy when I look at them, along with my steelbook copies of some of my games.
Now this part of my shelf is a little bit of a mess because I kind of went ham when it came to the Star Rail merch that I found not only in Japan, but also in China and South Korea when I was on my trip. And it was all super cheap. And I actually played a lot of Star Rail during my trip, so I definitely went, again, a bit overboard when it came to the merch that I need to clean up at some point. And then here are all my soundtracks, including my 2 new additions that I put in that stack. And then just again, an overview of what my shelves look like in this angle of everything. And I'm just, again, really grateful that I'm able to build up a collection like this and hope that it kind of reflects what my gaming tastes are and trying to weave a story with it. So I hope you guys enjoyed all of my recent pickups as well as some of the new arrangements I've made on these shelves. I'm really pleased with how it's turned out so far, and I'm also just excited to see how these shelves will continue to evolve as my gaming tastes change and as new games release and as I get to older titles that I'll be playing for the first time. And I think just the storytelling element of shelf curation is just a lot of fun. So I'm always excited to document and also bring you guys with me as I continue towards curating it to fit my personal tastes. So let me know if you've picked up or played any of these games that I've highlighted here today. But also, if you happen to be a physical collector as well, let me know what your shelf arrangement style is. Are you also a curated storyteller like I try to strive to be? Or do you like to go for the more functional, utilitarian kind of way of displaying your games on your shelves? I'll be very interested to hear. And until my next video, bye guys.